Welcome to another episode of Dear Mama, You Got This. I am your host, your co-mommy, your co-partner in crime. I don't know, encourager, whatever you want to call me, your sister, your aunt, your friend. I am Trinice Evans. I am the host of this amazing podcast. And today we have an amazing guest for you to come in and talk about raising children at different ages at the same time and still meeting their needs as well as your needs as a mom. But listen, before we get into all that, do me a quick favor. Make sure you have subscribed, that you're following us on all our social media platforms. We're on all of them. TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Threads, we're on Facebook. Make sure that you're in our private group. It's made just for you moms. Now, let's go ahead and get into it. Please help me welcome the esteemed Miss Minal. Hey, did I say it correctly?
You did. That was perfect.
I rock. See, moms, you rock now. Make sure that you're in your favorite seat, your most comfortable corner, that you have your favorite beverage, whatever that may be. Listen, we listen and we don't judge. So whatever your favorite, mine happen to be Pepsi, but whatever your favorite beverage is, make sure you have a cold one of that, and you're taking the next 30 or 40 minutes just to pour into you. Don't worry, the dishes can wait, dinner can wait, whatever you're doing can wait. The next 30 to 40 minutes is all about you, Mom. So let's get into it. I first want to start by reading the bio of our esteemed guest. Miss Minal is a first-generation Southeast Asian American female who was born and raised in New York City. After living and working around the world, she has lived in Lagos, I hope I pronounced that right, Dubai, Lagos. Is it Jakir,
Jakarta, Mumbai.
Mumbai, and Madrid. I got that one right. She landed on living and attending graduate school in San Francisco, California. During the pandemic, her and her family moved to Austin, Texas. Before becoming a therapist, she had her fair share of jobs across various fields: services, education, advertisement, entertainment, journalism, and tech. All of these informed her work as a therapist at her private practice, Honest Space Psychotherapy, where she specializes in anxiety, self-esteem, relationships, parenting, and big life transitions for immigrants, children of immigrants, and people of color. She can relate to high stress, intense pressure, unyielding expectations, and endless workloads. She's experienced the desire for work-life balance and not knowing how to get there, the want for peace and quiet, and the pull to consistently be busy, the clash between Eastern and Western cultures and values, and not feeling like she belonged anywhere, and the need to appear like she had it all together, meanwhile feeling like she was just hanging on by a thread. My God, we all can relate to that at some point in our life. She's also known how hard it can be and how long it can take to transition from one hometown to a new place for a relationship, a job, or simply for a life change. She has moved around a lot. She gets it. And she doesn't have, and she wants you to know you don't have to navigate it alone. If you're struggling with anxiety, self-esteem, relationships, parenting, and or big life transitions, let's find a way together. Today, book a free consultation with Honest Space Therapy .com, where you will have Miss Minal as your therapist. Hello. See, we are all about giving you guys not just conversation, but actual resources. That was very important to me when I started this podcast, that I gave moms actual resources so the guests would be from all over the place and for you all to have access to. So I want to first thank you for taking the opportunity and the time to be a part of this. I really, really appreciate your time. But can you explain to me what your current family dynamic is and how that's impacting your today, your everyday?
Sure. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. My current family dynamic. So I met and married my partner in 2014. I had just graduated from grad school. I was interning to get my hours. I'm a licensed professional clinical counselor, so we need 3,000 hours post-graduation to be able to sit for the licensure exam. I knew that I wanted to be a mom more than anything from a really young age. And I knew that I wanted to have 3, maybe 4 kids, but we met a little later in life and we started a little later in life. So we have 3 kids. So my first son is Akash. He was born in 2016 and he is now 8 and almost 8.5. My middle son, Kabir, he just turned 5 in January. And then my baby, Thea, she's a little girl, will be 4 in June.
Hey.
So,
Wow. You
yeah,
have a
so my
nice
oldest and my middle are 3 years apart, and then my 2 littles are about 16 months apart.
but you have a nice age range as far as they're old enough to be, I guess, independent, but close enough to still be together. Like
Yes.
my brother and I are 8 years apart, so we're not really that close. But my sister and I are 2 years apart, and we're best friends. So
Yes.
you have a good. How were you able to manage having a career or starting out in your career and still being a mom? How did you balance that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So, being a mom came first and still comes first for me. I tell everyone I know, all my clients, hey, like my phone's on silent, but if I get a call from school, like I have to take it, you know? So, I think first it's kind of prioritizing what's the most important for you. And then I was fortunate enough that my husband makes enough money that when each of my kids was born, I was actually able to take time off work. I knew that I wanted to be a therapist. I accrued all of my hours a week before my oldest was born. And he was late. I was induced. So it was like just under the wire. So I had him, and then I was able to take about 15 months off with each of my kids to really kind of reorient myself, figure out what mommying is, what does it look like, what do I need, what do they need. And then I felt when they were about 15 months, give or take, for each of them, they just had hit a developmental stage that they were ready to be social. They needed more than I could give them. Sitting around for them while I was folding laundry or cooking or running my errands just wasn't, I didn't feel like it was enough for them. So at that point, I put them in daycare, and I either started my practice or I went back to my practice. And then I would practice while, and I still do, I practice while my kids are in school. So I'm in Austin, so I practice from 10 to 3. And then I close up shop and I spend my afternoons and evenings with my kids.
That's a great balance, like being able to say 3 p.m. is my hard cutoff, and I'm now just going to be a mom. But for the mom who doesn't have the ability to do that, I'm a mom who doesn't, doesn't have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
What would be your, and I only have one. I have one. He's only 11 months old right now, but still adjusting to mommy, the career person, mommy, the podcaster, mommy, the entrepreneur, mommy trying to get her hours so she can have her own, clinical practice. How does a woman navigate all of those different roles and still maintain some parts of her?
I think it's all about support and real genuine like connected support. If you have a partner, roping in your partner, telling them what your goals are, what your needs are, what your wants are, right? Seeing if you can find a balance. If you can afford to get help, get help. If you can rope in laws or friends, people who don't have kids. But, I think really the support is huge throughout life, I think. But for me, when I became a mom, finding other moms who had kids the same age as me and who were aligned in our values, like who we knew what was important, what wasn't so important, but really having people that we could turn to be like, my meeting's running late, like you're getting your kid, can you get my kid too? Like I'll come and get him later. Or like, hey, I'm out of formula, or do you have this? Like can you drop it off? So I think it's really figuring out who you can call to, who you can call on to help support you, because all of those things that you mentioned are equally important, right? And they all take up brain space, but so does your kid. And I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to do all of these things perfectly and at the
Mhm.
right time. And so it looks good. And I think so part of it is finding the support. The other part is really taking the pressure off of ourselves and saying, hey, like, I'm only one person, right? Like, there are only so many things I can get to. And like, if I can't get to this today, like, would it be okay if I get to it tomorrow? So
I
I
like
think a
that.
lot of it is reprioritizing, I think, and reordering the things that are the most important to you and taking some of that pressure off yourself.
I like when you said, being like, if I don't get to it today, it's okay. Because for someone like me I'm a do list. Like this is
Mhm.
the calendar on my phone. I have a calendar in the kitchen. I have a calendar. Everything has a calendar. Even with having a calendar, as you and I know, I still make mistakes in them and don't put things where they're supposed to go. And the old me would have been like, it would have thrown me into a tizzy. And now I apologize and say I made a mistake, and I gotta keep moving because I'm juggling so many things. When you had your second son, changes that you notice and you as a mom that came, like, you was like, oh, this is different? I know they say that every child, is different, and every the needs of the child are different. So how did you adjust to that second and then third baby?
Sure. Well, we had an interesting situation because my second was born 2 months before the pandemic, and we were in San Francisco, so in California, where everything literally shut down. So, like I said, I had planned to take off, time to be with Kabir, my second, while my oldest Akash was at school. And I, when things were working the way that like I had planned them to work, I'd wake up, feed the baby, drop Akash to school, be with the baby. I would try to do the feeding before I picked him up so that we could spend as much time together. My husband would come home from work. I would hand off the baby and be able to spend time with Akash, right? I wanted to give him as much time as possible because a baby really pulls from you in so many ways, just in terms of basic needs. So for the first 2 months, I was like, okay, I got this. I personally find the first 6 weeks of postpartum to just be a lot. I find them to be just incredibly intense, and you're literally just in survival mode. I find the first 4 months to be hard, the first 6 weeks to be brutal, and then I feel like things start to shift a little bit. And so with the pandemic, everything shut down. So then Akash was home and Kabir was home and my husband lost his job and everybody was home. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like,
Mhm.
but in terms of trying to account for the needs of each kid, as a baby, Kabir didn't need that much. He needed to be fed, changed, all kind of, he needed the basic needs.
Got you.
Akash, as a 3-year-old, was a toddler. He needed attention. He needed to get his energy out. He needed to be social. So we did a lot of things kind of, everybody would wake up, I would feed the baby, and then I would give Akash an activity, or we would all have breakfast together. And then I would give him an activity to do while I would be feeding the baby again, right? And then we would go out. We would spend as much time outside. Like I would wear Kabir, or we would stroll him together, social distance with friends if that was available, or just be outside as much as
Mhm.
possible. But there were definitely times where it was, Akash needed something and Kabir needed something, and you're like, well, I don't know what to do. I can't, and it's interesting because Akash was alone for 3 years. So he had
Mm,
all of my love, all of my attention, all of my energy, right? Like it's so hard not to dote on the only kid you have.
absolutely.
And then you have another one and they're almost like dethroned and they're like, hey, what happened? Like I was the king and now there's this other
Mhm.
little king and like this doesn't feel good for me. And
Mhm.
so I think a lot of it was about communication. A lot of it was just telling him like, hey, like you can come sit on this lap while I feed the baby this way, like trying to just navigate it based on what your kid needs. We were lucky. Akash is pretty independent, so we could put down a train track and he could kind of do that while I sat there. And I would really use my husband a lot. I would like hand off the baby to him or so that I could have one-on-one time with my toddler.
I love that you made it a point to ensure that he still knew he was valued, because I honestly, I can't imagine having more than one. And it could be because I had my son at 44. It's funny because I remember saying, "Oh, no, 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 we want two, and we want to do it back to back." And 'cause I'm older. I thank the Lord that He did not honor that request, because I would literally be like, blah, 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 blah. like when you
It's a
say that
lot.
newborn stage is, when you say, I think brutal is too nice a word. It is the most gut wrenching, beautiful, beautiful moment. But it changes everything you knew about yourself, you knew about your partner, your marriage, your upbringing. Like, it questions everything you ever knew about life, and every insecurity, every feeling of rejection, any trauma. In those 6 weeks, you go through every emotion. No. So having a toddler to still say, hey, while you're going through that again with your second son, but still being able to mommy. So what do you say to the mom that says, I have one, I'm pregnant with my next one, or I have two, and I know we're bringing another one into our group, so the family dynamic is now going to change, right? Like, we used to be in a party of three, well, a party of two at first, they became a party of three. Now you're gonna be a party of four or five. How do you, as a mom who still needs to take care of mom, right? Still needs to be a wife to hubby and still needs to be a career-based woman. How do you navigate the new dynamics that is your family.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a lot to even just think about, right? Let alone put into practice. So again, I think it's support. I think communication is huge. Figuring out what your needs are, what your wants are, what your goals are, but actually getting your needs met, right? Sometimes we can't tell the difference between our needs and our wants, and I think it's really important to be able to distinguish the two because our needs really have to be met for us to feel like we have purpose, like we have value, like we are human. I remember in those first 6 weeks, right? If you're breastfeeding, you're not really sleeping, right? By the time you finish feeding your baby and putting them down and changing their diaper, you have like an hour and a half or 2 hours if you're really lucky. And then you have to do it all again, right? And we know that we can't function on sleep like that. Your memory doesn't function, your metabolism doesn't function, any of that. So again, I think it's how are you going to solve for the first basic thing that you need to do, right? Which is your sleep. How are you going to get fed? How are you going to bathe on occasion if that's important to you? And then it's okay, what are my kids' needs? And not that you put them like in order of priority, but obviously, like the baby needs to be fed before the toddler needs to be played with. Right. And so, again, figuring out what resources you have, where your values lie, right? Is it okay to put the TV on for 30 or 40 minutes while you're feeding your baby? Like, can that be okay for you to get a break? Can you have your neighbor come in for 40 minutes while you wash your hair once a week and feel like a human again, right? Can you get those basic needs met so that at some point when you feel like you have the capacity, you can reach the higher wants?
That's good. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, in terms of shifting dynamics, like that's really interesting. When your kids become verbal and they become a little more independent and they become like they're walking and they're talking, like it's really fun to see how the dynamic shifts. At first, the little one wants to be exactly like the older one. And now when Kabir does something, Kashi's like, I can do it better. So there is obviously the streak of, competition and who gets the most attention. I really try to say, like every kid is going to have their own needs, their own wants, their own capabilities, right? And their lack thereof. And so what I try to do is I try to make them a team as opposed to pitting them together. So I'll make them a team against me. So it's like, hey, like we have to leave the house in 5 minutes. You guys need to put your socks on and brush your teeth, right? So, and of course, I'm still in my pajamas because I haven't had a minute since they woke up, right? So I'm like, okay, we're going to have a race, like team kids against team mommy, right? But you all have to help each other because if you're not all finished, like I win, And so it's really trying to fill this dynamic of like, they're not against each other. They don't have to compete for our
I like
love or
that.
attention. Like they're a team and they need to help each other in order to get their needs met sometimes too.
That is, I've never ever heard it broken down in that way. So let me ask, with that particular philosophy, right, of creating this team environment, how do you then foster independence and a way that's healthy, right? Because so civil rivalry, for example, my sister and I growing up, no, we were oil and vinegar. I mean, she wanted to be outside climbing trees. I did not play in dirt. I did not do outside. I wanted to be inside reading a book. Like when I say total opposites, we were total opposites, which caused a lot of friction. So we argued all day. We argued about the way the water came out the faucet. We argued about it. But literally now we talk every day, all day, because she's my best friend and I'm her best friend. And so you would net to see us in our 40s, you would never ever know that we couldn't stand each other as kids. We didn't become friends until 2004. And I can tell you the year because she had my niece. And
Mm.
that's what kind of brought us together. But prior to that, oh no, we were family strictly by blood. Strictly by blood. There was no friendship there. So how do you ensure that while you're building this team type of environment, they don't lose their individuality while also keeping a healthy spin on civil rivalry, if there can be one?
I mean, I definitely think there can be one. I think that's a great question. So, I mean, there are teams and things when we have to like get ready to go out. When I'm busy, like say I'm writing an email and like Dia needs something, I'm like, hey, Akash, can you help her? Right? Like I try to enlist them in their strengths to help. Sometimes they want to be helpers and sometimes they don't. And like that's fine. And then in terms of their keeping their individuality, like people just are individual. They have their certain preferences, but also based on developmental stages. Like Kashi's the quintessential first child. He wants to be the leader. He is
Uh-huh.
extremely sensitive. He is an absolute rule follower. He's extremely cerebral. He can read, right? Kabir can't read. So sometimes when Akash needs time, he's like, I just want to read. He loves to read, which I love, and Kabir will go play with his cars, or he's super into monster trucks right now. It becomes contentious when Kabir takes Akash's Lego.
Oh, not the Legos.
And that's like, ugh, and I'm like, oh, and then you just hear, this is mine, and you can't go into my stuff, and you have so many, and I don't have any. And you're like, oh my gosh, okay, so what do we do, right? Like, how do we allow them to realize that they're yelling at each other, right? I don't want them to be hitting each other. I don't want them to be taking things from each other. But I do want them to be able to express themselves in a way that feels okay, right? So then they'll be like, Mom, and you're like, okay, here we go. But I don't want to solve it for them. And this is what I learned through their school. Like, this is not just knowledge that I have, right? As we grow as parents, we also are constantly learning from our surroundings.
Absolutely.
And at school, they're like, listen, like, it's okay to step in and to calm down the situation, right? Like, we have them breathe, we separate them. And then I'm like, okay, listen, you guys are big now. You have words, you have feelings. I want you guys to figure out what is the best way to make this happen. And if you can't, I get to keep the Lego.
Well, that's
So
good.
there's a real consequence there, right? Like, they want to work together because they don't want to lose their toy. But if they can't figure it out, like, I have to step in, and then the toy goes into timeout for 30 minutes and they have to figure out something else to do.
That's good.
And so they're learning how to negotiate. They're learning how to compromise. They're learning how to let each other speak. They're learning how to take turns, right? Like, I could jump in and be like, well, it's his, like, he gets the first turn, or you had it first yesterday. But that's not ultimately building their skills, right? That's just telling them what to do.
That's good.
And for me, one of my values is to really have them spark their independence, right? Spark their creativity, allow them to be who they are, but in a system that is safe and collaborative.
That's good. Like, I love doing this podcast because as a new mom, I get so many little nuggets,
Sure.
right? So many little, put this in your back pocket and hold this for later, and not trying to, because as a mom, I want to fix everything. If you cry one time, I mean, what's wrong? You need something? You hungry? And it's like, even my son, even at 11 months, is very independent. He don't want you to carry him when he gets to the house until he gets sleepy. Listen, when he gets sleepy, he don't want nobody but mommy. He don't care who you are. He just wants mommy, and that's all he wants. And stop calling his name. He wants mommy. And so I'm having to balance, because I don't want to be the mom that's hovering and almost cripples the child, right? Like, I don't want to be so hands-on and so involved that I cripple the child, that my son is not able to be a young man and not able to thrive how he needs to thrive in a society that's pretty much built to knock him back down. So I have to work extra hard to make sure his father and I, to make sure that we're giving him the necessities that he needs in life. So how do you make sure that you're preparing each individual child, who have different needs, different attitudes, different emotions, how are you preparing them individually to tackle this thing called the world and all that's already against them for whatever reason?
Yeah, I think this is such an interesting topic because I think new moms, early moms, like, stress so much about the future, right? It's like, yeah, but it's natural, right? Like, especially, I think people who run anxious, I think especially moms who are also therapists, right? Like, we want to do everything right. We want to be the perfect parent. And I will say, like, it's such a beautiful thing. And at the same time, like, you don't need to know more than you need to know right now, right? Like, you grow with your baby. You're a new parent the same age that your baby's a baby.
You're gonna make me cry. You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it.
And it's okay. Like, you don't need to know what to do when he's 5 or what to do when he's 11 or 17 when the world knocks him down. Like, you need to, at this point in time, give him as much love and attention as you can. There's no such thing as too much love for a kid.
I said I wasn't gonna do this. I felt like I'd cry on all these podcasts. Like, y'all be getting me. Y'all be getting me. But this is why I created this podcast, because it was these moments like this. There is so much stress that I've put. I can't say that anybody's put on me. I can't say that it's the world put on me. There's so much stress that I've put on myself. So I want him to have the best childhood. I want him to have like the perfect childhood. I don't want him to have to grow up and there's so much pressure and stress on me as the mom. I am always consumed with worry and stress about tomorrow or 3 years from now. He literally, my son, he just turned 11 months last week. And I'm like, okay, he needs this. He comes off formula. Should he get whole milk? Should he get 2% milk? Like, it's my mind is constantly trying instead of just enjoying the moment. How do you as a mom, and this is a personal question for me, but how do you as a mom get to a place where you just enjoy being a mom? Like, do you ever, you don't like, and not that I don't enjoy being a mom, but I'm so worried about tomorrow and 5 years from now. And is he okay? Is he protected? Is he safe? Like, I'm so consumed with being a mom that I'm not enjoying. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so common. I have so many clients and so many friends that are like, I want this baby, I want this baby, I want this baby, and then the baby comes and they're like, but we don't have this and we don't have that, and what about this and what about that? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just want to get in your brain and like turn it all off for a little while so that you can just like notice your baby's hands and their feet and their smile and the way they like look at you with so much love. Like, and I tell everybody, like, think back to your childhood, right? Like I think this is a really cool exercise. Like, what are the things you remember? What are the things that were so important to you? Like for me, it was my mom coming to my bed every morning and sitting there to wake me up. Like I remember her stroking my hair. I remember her soft voice. I remember her being so gentle. Like I remember coming home and playing. My dad is like really coordinated and he would play this game with us called Eight Things to Do, where he would like throw balls and give us all these things, right? And it wasn't the things that mattered. It was the time that I got. It was the attention that I got. It was the love that I got. Like that's the thing. Those are the things that I remember. Your baby doesn't even really form memories until they're 4, right? So you're stressed about like all of this stuff and like your baby's just trying to survive right now, right? And so I think it's really helpful to think about like in this moment, where am I right now? What do I actually need to be doing right now, which most of the time is like nothing but being here, right? Like, why am I putting all of this pressure on myself, right? Like, I am doing the best that I possibly can in this moment. I can't worry. I can't change the future. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or in a week or in a month. Like, maybe we need to move. Maybe somebody gets a new job. Maybe and like it's so natural to want to set yourself up for success. Like that's obviously, I think that's what every parent wants for their kid. But knowing that you are doing your best, right? Being as present as you can with them, focusing on you, getting your needs met so that you can be as present as possible with them. I think that's the best thing that you can do.
That was so yummy to me. That was so yummy. Okay, all right. I'm back together, y'all. I'm back together. I'm back together. I'm back together. How do you? And this is a question for you, the woman, not the mom, not the wife, not the therapist. How do you ensure that while you are all these things for as so many different people, that you are still present and available for you?
Girlfriends, all my girlfriends, 100%. Like, I take 2 trips a year, one with my childhood best friends, one with my college roommates. I go away for 4 days. I'm like, "Here, hubby, this is all you. Good luck." Like, you wanna call in support, call in support. You wanna do whatever you wanna do. I used to be the first time I did it, I was so anxious. I did all the laundry. I called all the schools. I told everybody I was gonna be out of town. I prepped all the meals. And I killed myself to go on this vacation. And like so much of me couldn't be on vacation because I was so stressed about being
Hmm.
at home. And then one of my friends was like, Manal, your husband travels for work all the time. Like, does he do all of the stuff before he goes away? And I was
Wow.
like, ding, 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 ding. No, he doesn't, and like, so I think one huge, like my girlfriends have carried me through everything. When I had Akash, he was our first. We were some of the first in our friend group to have friends. I had to make all new friends. It took me a while. I couldn't find my people. And, I would find people who were super anxious. I would find people who were constantly comparing like me to them and our babies. And I was like, this is stressful in and of itself. Like, I just need my people. And I ultimately found them at like a postnatal yoga group, which makes so much sense because I'm a yogi. And, and I was like, oh, duh, hello,
Yeah.
and like those mamas, they ensured that like we went out, that we took our babies out, that we would work out, that we were healthy, that we had spaces to vent, to cry, to fall apart, to nap, to be who we were becoming, who we needed to be in a really safe, beautiful, beautiful space. So I think it's really, again, like, and for me, exercising has always been really important. So the reason that I start my practice at 10 is not that my kids go to school at 10, but we wake up, they have breakfast, they get ready for school. My husband and I alternate dropping them off, and then I work out for an hour. So I will go to an 8:30 gym class because I know that if I don't work out in the morning, it's not going to happen. And I know that if I don't work out for 3 days, I'm not the mommy or the wife that anybody really wants to be around. And so, again, I think it's knowing your needs, knowing your wants, and then making that happen for you in whatever way that looks like, right? It doesn't have to be nights out. It doesn't have to be expensive or frivolous. Like, it can be closing your door to your bedroom for 45 minutes twice a week and just saying, hey, I need to read, or I need to nap, or I need to meditate, or I need to talk on the phone without an interruption. I just need a little time and space for me on a consistent basis.
That is it's funny because that's kind of I ask this question to every host, right? To every guest. Because I know, like, for me, one of the things that I've done that I used to feel bad for, but I don't now, is I make sure that I leave work in enough time that I get about a good 20 minutes in the car by myself.
Yeah.
Like, not driving, like, I'll leave work, get to the area where my son's school is, and it's a church on the corner. I will literally sit in that parking lot. Sometimes I eat, sometimes I read, sometimes I just do nothing. I just close my eyes. But it allows me the space to take off the career
Hmm.
hat and prepare to put on my mommy hat. It allows me the space to say, "Oh, for the next 15, 20, whatever minutes it is, I'm not a wife, I'm not a mom, I'm not a daughter. Like, I don't answer any phone calls. I don't care who called me. I don't answer any phone. That's just a moment for me to reset, right?
Yeah.
Because I got up that morning, I got me together, I got him together. We left the house, I got him to school, I left the school, and I went right to work, and there was no break. This is my
Yeah.
first 15, 20 minutes of a day where I'm not answering to anybody, but I'm having this quiet moment in the car. And I find that when I don't do that, I'm a little bit more irritated when he
Hmm.
pulls on my shirt. I'm a little bit more irritated when he said, and I love when he says, "Mama, it's the best," because he just started saying it. So for me, it's like, say it again, say it again, say it again. But when I don't take that 15 minute in the car, I'm like, don't say it no more.
Hmm.
Don't say it. But that in that time, like you say, you work out, finding whatever that thing is from you. Prior to having my son, I traveled. I loved cruises. I love going, and I can go with a whole group, or I can go by myself. It's me being around water, just like pretty water. And I live in DC. We don't have pretty water. So being
Yeah.
able to just watch blue water come up on it, it's the best thing in the world for me. So I said, starting in 2025 toward the end, he'll be one by then, he'll be a little bit older
Hmm.
by then. I gotta get back into my once a year I see pretty water. Now, wherever that may be, it might be in Florida, it may be in another country, because I need that for my mental. I need that for my
Hmm.
Trinice. That's not for anybody, that's just for Trinice. And so that was really good when you said girlfriends, right? When you say, taking your trips and doing different things, it just kind of affirms for me that my mind's on the right path.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So in
Yeah. You have to make space.
closing, two things. One, what would you tell the mom that's juggling multiple children at different ages? What would be your takeaway advice for that mom?
Just enjoy it. Honestly, like, it's wild. Like, it goes by really fast. I know everyone says that, but like every time I think about Akash being in third grade and Kabir going into kindergarten, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it's just happening. And it's like, which means like I'm growing and I'm getting older, but I don't feel that. Like, I'm so focused on my kids that like I forget. And I really think that it doesn't have to be perfect. It can't be perfect. Again, as long as I'm apologizing to my kids all the time. All the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Mommy forgot this. Or I'm so sorry. Like, I did not mean for this to happen. Like, this was my vision for this day. And like, this is the way that it turned out. And I feel really sad about that. Right. Like, the dynamics are going to be what they are. Right. I think really, like, I love the idea of building a team amongst your kids. I think it's a beautiful experience because at the end of the day, they have each other when they don't have you
Absolutely.
anymore. And so they're always going to have each other. And if you can build that and you can solidify that, like my brothers and I, they're my rocks. You know, I have an older brother and a younger brother, and my older brother's about 20 months older and my younger brother's 5 years younger. But we are really, really close, and they're my people. And I think like my mom created that for us, you know, and so I'm trying to create that for my kids. And I know that there are conflicting dynamics and there are conflicting needs. Like my oldest is a really picky eater, and my other two eat everything, right? So like, how come he gets to eat this and we don't get to eat this? And I think honestly, like I just explain it in the best way I know how. Like
Mhm.
it's not going to be perfect, and it may not even be right, but it's the way that I'm thinking about it right now. And I try to explain it so that they get it too. So I think really like, and sometimes we'll be a democracy. Like if everybody wants to do different things, we'll either take turns or I'll be like, if it's 2 to 1, you know, like
Okay.
then it's 2 to 1, like, and it just is, you know, and then the person who didn't get their vote counted or like didn't get what they want gets to pick the next thing that we do, right? So it's not always going to be equal because it can't be equal, but I do try to make it fair.
Okay. Okay. I love that. Okay, one more question. I have to ask this question. What would you tell the younger you when you were having your first son?
Don't be such a psycho. Like, you know, like it's gonna be okay. Like you don't have to respond to his every need, right? Attachment parenting, pure attachment. I meant to look this up again, but I think it's like you literally only have to respond to your kid 40% of the time. 40%
Mhm.
for them to know that you're there, that they're loved, that they're safe, that they can bond with you. Like it's not every time they need something. Like they don't need the brand new thing. They don't need to be picked up every time they cry. If they scrape their knee, that's not your fault. Like it's okay. You know, I think it's really taking the pressure off myself to be someone that I couldn't be, can't be, and honestly don't want to be.
That's
Like
good.
and just sitting back and watching it and enjoying it, like taking it in, all the things, their first full night's sleep, their first crawl, their first walk, their first words, their first, and just loving every moment of it. That's the one thing I have learned in this journey, to really just say, F it all. Like nothing else is as important as like the moments that I'm having right now with my kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was so yummy. You're so good at this. So I want to give you the space and the opportunity to talk about your practice.
Sure.
I know that you have your own practice, and I'm going to put the website up again. Give me a little bit of history. You know, are you taking new clients? Give me a little bit of information about, you know, I know I've read in your bio what your practice offers, where you're located, what population you're able to service, what's like
Sure.
state, and there's all kind of rules in it. So take a moment just to, ping your practice.
Thank you. Yeah, of course. So my practice is honest-based psychotherapy. I'm licensed in California and Texas, so as long as my clients are in either state, I'm available to them. I am taking on new clients at the moment, and I see adult individuals and couples. So anybody 18 or older. I do specialize in immigrants, children of immigrants, adult children of immigrants, rather, and people of color. I just don't think there are enough of us therapists out there to really help the people who need the help, who to
Absolutely.
resonate. Like it's such a different, I've obviously had all different kinds of therapists, but like the therapists that like I really gravitate towards are the ones who are like me, who have had similar experiences, who just get it without you having to explain it, who
Yep.
can understand the words that you're saying, the family dynamics, the family of origin stuff. So like that's the work that I love to do. And I really, really get to connect with my clients, not only through the topics they're talking about, but like through their being, who they are, where they come from, what's important to them. I specialize in anxiety, self-esteem, relationship skills, parenting, and big life changes. I will say parenting and anxiety are like my favorites. They're my go-tos. I feel like I have a really good handle on them, but obviously I can do general therapy as well.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, if you're interested, feel free to email me, check out my website. I do put out a blog monthly, so you can subscribe to that if you're interested. And I just appreciate the time to be on here. Thank you so much.
I want to truly thank you for coming on and just dropping so much wisdom and taking up your time. I greatly appreciate it. And to the moms that are watching this, I want to tell you, and maybe no one has told you today, maybe you didn't read it on the flyer, you didn't get it as much as You are absolutely rocking this thing called motherhood. And, no, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to dot every I and cross every T. As we learned today, sometimes you're not gonna complete the to-do list. The laundry is not gonna get folded. Dishes are not gonna get washed. And guess what? You're still gonna be an amazing mom. Even if you were not fortunate enough to have a great mom growing up, you still have everything within you to be an amazing mom to those who call you mommy. So take a moment, breathe in, breathe out, and tell yourself you got this. Because guess what? Dear mama, you got this. This is your girl, your co-host, your fellow mom telling you you are amazing and you rock, and keep going. It gets better. I promise you, whatever they tell me, it gets better and it gets a little bit easier. I will see you all next week, same time, same place. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're following us. Make sure you're following social medias. And guess what? We'll do it again next week with a brand new guest. You all have a good one. I'm your girl, Trinice. Talk to you later. Bye.